Testing. Oh, hello.
Check,
Hello,
check.
everyone.
Check. Oh, there we go.
My
Look
name
at that.
is CCP Overload. That is CCP Jotun.
Yes.
We're just waiting for CCP Zealous, a.k.a. CCP Thunder Daddy.
Thunder Daddy.
Late to his own panel, but we can get started without him. I don't think he really does anything. For those of you who don't know me, CCP Overload, I've been hosting Alliance tournaments since I was a player, been involved in a ton of tournaments. I see a lot of amazing tournament faces there. I see Jintan doing the recent Charity Cup. I see Dirk and Soth from Anga Games. I believe 8 has been confirmed. We have ex-CCP Logibro, of course, in the front as well, so make sure you say hello to him. And yeah, let's talk about tournaments. Tournaments are one of my favorite things, especially because EVE Online, the EVE Online players are some of the nerdiest gamers around. We all know this. And within that nerdy group, there's an even nerdier group who just come and do tournaments, and that's you guys. So, I guess we just start. Questions, I guess?
Yeah, we can do questions. I mean, I guess the way we should probably do this is that we... I don't. Oh, hey! Speaking of the devil, and he shall
Here he
appear.
is. Round of applause, everyone.
Ladies and gentlemen,
CCP
CCP
Zealous.
Thunder Daddy.
Yeah. Unfortunately, since you missed the being moved by the tournament 2, you have to move to 0. So.
I'm pretty sure I just won the over on that one.
Yeah, we had an over.
No, I got 12:01.
We had an over/under. The clock is already running.
Do you have a presentation? No? Okay. Oh, is that what I was doing? I'm just here because the organizers thought we need more sex appeal on this panel. So.
All right. So are we. Do you want to talk first, CCP Zealous, or do we want to just start doing questions?
I thought you were a tournament host.
Wow. Take your microphone and shut up. All right. Who has some questions for us?
Also,
I
hi.
see Jintan.
In tan.
I don't know. Let me ask CCP Zealous. CCP Zealous, when is the next Alliance tournament?
I believe it's been scheduled for Q3 and Q4 of this year.
Wow, Q3 and Q4 of this year, ladies and gentlemen, Alliance tournament 21?
Yes, yes.
Confirmed.
You guys don't do that anyway.
Let's be very, very real here. When we talk about EVE players, there's an understanding that most EVE players are a certain kind of person. And as ECB Overload already established just a few minutes ago, you are the EVE players of EVE players. So there's no expectation that you're going to be doing anything else this summer other than working on AT21 stuff.
Jokes aside, chances are it's probably not going to be too dissimilar to last year's timetabling. I'm going to probably compress it down a little bit. So the like when the first announcement was, I think last year with the dates, I think was right towards the end of June. It'll probably be around the same time this time, just to give everyone like a general overview of what dates all the important like stuff's happening. Neat.
Questions? Yes, up there.
For the prizes, you mean? So just for record, the question was with regards to the battleships being prizes. Is that something that's going to continue? Chances are probably not. That was going to be that was a nice big 20th moment to celebrate. So we're probably going to continue back to the cadence of 2 ships. But chances are whether they're frigates and cruisers might change a little bit. We'll see what happens with that.
Yeah.
Still holding our hope for an AT Venture Hull. That's my...
AT Venture Hall?
Yeah, that's what I want. Yeah. I see a question right there. Question?
Yes.
Essentially. I mean, this is something we wanted to get for a long time is AT ships being used in the AT again. Everyone loves expensive explosions. It's a bit of a balancing act between letting you guys lose your really expensive ships and letting people just band dodge with money, essentially. Like if you have a Rabisu and no one else does, then you can just bring that and get past pretty much all the banning. So it needs some sort of special care. I really like, since Alliance Tournament 17, we've given out a lot more prize ships and they've gone down to a lot further down the rankings, because that means there's more shit to lose and it's easier to get a hold of them, which means people can use them. I think the way we did it this year with, it was like a baby step in that direction to let people start to bring them again. I don't think anyone fielded any this year.
No, they didn't. I mean, similar to exactly as Overload saying, I would like to explore like additional opportunities to bring them back, whether that be changing like the rules that we had as like you could bring it as a flagship instead of a flagship. I probably will keep it like that, but I'll probably change some of the rules that were surrounding it a little bit more and maybe change some of the point values for it. The reason why I've been a little bit reluctant to bring them back was because it's just a case of I don't want a team to have to go, we have to have an Alliance tournament ship to participate in the Alliance tournament because it feels so much of like a trump card. It's like I bring the ship and I win that match. I don't want it to feel like that. I want it to be a case of you bring that ship because you're like, you want to build something around it, but it's instead of something else that's high value, for example. So I want to find a meaningful way to bring them back, but at the same time, I don't want it to be, if a new team wants to come in, to have to feel like they have to have an AT ship to win.
It's a balancing act in the other direction too, right? Because if you're going to field an AT ship, when you're putting that much ISK on the line, you have that high level of risk. You want it to feel impactful, so you have to balance both in favor of the person who has the ship, their interests and their desire to have a thing that is good, and in balancing it towards everybody else who doesn't have one, and their desire to not just get shreked,
Destroyed, yeah.
destroyed by the first person who puts a Python on grid.
I saw a match. I think it was PL. It was like 89 or something like that. A couple months ago, I watched it. It's like 3 Cambions go down and a Tana. And the commentator's like, "Wow, they've lost almost 150 billion." I'm like,
Yeah, inflation's a bitch.
questions? Any questions? Yep. No, probably not. So we had them on Alliance Tournament 17, and I'll tell you, there's a balancing act. There's lots of balancing acts. There's a balancing act between making the tournament as optimal as possible for competitors, making the tournament accessible, and making the tournament watchable. And one of the things that Abyssal mods did was it made it very, very hard to be watchable, because you have this like Balgorn or this. I remember I think it was the Hydra flagship at the time was a Barghest, so was the Volta one, and one of them went down. I can't remember which one. And according to Zedkill, it was like a 2 billion ISK Barghest. But then we used some GM tools to pull it out of the graveyard and check what those modules actually were, and it's like a 500 bill Barghest. But you can't, all we have to do is go on the stream and be like, just trust us, it was really expensive. I know you can't see it, but it was. And that's kind of a shit viewing experience.
Yeah, I mean, it's not only that, it's also the fact that, like, you sitting there thinking, how many times did they have to roll to get the fit that they particularly wanted, or the good roll on that particular module? And there's that added value behind that you'll never see.
Yep.
So it's probably not a case of we'll do them again.
I did watch someone, I have a video of someone, Abyssal rolling a Tobias web, which is like a 80 bill web already, and it was a good roll. And then we removed Abyssal mods from flagships, so they got fucked. Yes.
How are you feeling about how the feeders format has been working in the past 8 weeks?
I love it. I think it's a really, really good system we've got going right now. The Alliance tournament is more accessible than it's ever been. Anyone can basically field a team, and unless you make it through into the finals, you are basically out nothing. You're at no cost other than some time. If you win some matches in the feeders, you get some skins, so you're already like basically quids in. And if you do make it into the finals, you win 2 matches, you're in top 16, you win 80 ships, including this year, obviously, there was a battleship. I also really like the fact that we've removed the Plex buy-in. It was too often some of the big alliances, I want to name and shame them right now, I've done it too much on the desk that their CEOs are sending me angry mails. They have just paid their way in and then not been very good because they
go out in the first weekend.
Yeah, and then you get this really, really good new team who just don't get in because there's only 3 slots available from the feeder. So doing it this way, where the only people that get an automatic in are the like top few from the previous one, I think that's fine, and the other slots all being feeders, amazing. And we've seen some of the best matches of the AT have been in the feeders, because you've got that cheese factor of like a really experienced team having to still fight their way through without revealing too much stuff, and they go up against a bunch of lunatics coming in like a rush comp and lose. It's hilarious.
When you say removing the flex buy-in, though, you mean the silent auction?
Yes, the silent auction. Yes, you still pay
Yes.
flex. That's for the prize pool. I mean the silent auction, yes.
Yep, exactly. I think you hit the nail on the head there. It's more of the case you earned your way into the tournament a little bit more rather than buying your way into the tournament, which I think results overall in better matches because it means that everybody is already ready to encounter what they're about to hit in the main tournament.
Let's do second row on the end over here, real quick. Okay, Zealous, hear me out.
Uh-oh.
They may have some sauce here. That might be something.
I mean, I love doing, not to discount the idea, like the idea was just, changing up the feeder format to something a little bit more wild. I like the idea of keeping a relative consistency with the Alliance tournament in terms of both the feeder format and the main tournament itself, because I don't want it to be like when you get a few years down the line and you're looking, that was the tournament team that won that special tournament, that one that was different from all the other, that one that was
The
easier.
Mickey Mouse tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I love doing community tournaments, like again, like our homegrown, small, organically grown
Very small, yes.
Anger Games tournaments.
Mirror.
Because you get to have a little bit more fun in terms of the wild formats, you can experiment to see what works, or just changing stuff up in the arena. Like, again, during the Anger Games, their overtime mechanic was applying one of the wormhole effects instead of having reverse time dilation. It was just something different, and it was interesting to see, how people felt about it afterwards as well.
Yeah. I will also point out that you guys ask for like crazy ideas and wild changes and things like that. Cause like, oh, we don't want it the same as last year. We want it to be different, and then we change something. And you go, no, not like that. Like, so it's a
Eve
bit
Online.
bit of a hard act.
Let's do up there next, and then we'll do down here after that.
What do you mean by static warping points? Because you always
Like
warp
you
within
always
range.
warp in on one side of the arena or the other. Like each side will come in, not like because right now there's always a little bit of variability depending on where they come into, so they can come in at different angles. You always come in on one side or come in on the other side.
So you can pick a beacon, and that depending on what beacon you've picked, you have the choice of A, B, C, or D. It's essentially a cube shape, and on each face, it's one of the four corners. So if you were to pick, this is during the match setup time, the captains are usually asked which beacon they'd like to pick. Realistically, depending on if they were on the same side each time, so if they're the blue team each side, if they pick the same beacon each time, they should have the same exact point of warp in every time.
I think the point they're trying to make though is it would be more consistent if teams if there were only two warp ins, one on one side of the arena, one on the other side of the arena, they both warped in. At least that way you wouldn't know, because you have instances where people warp in at angles and they're really, really close to each other because they both just happen to pick that warp in over the others. Is consistency more important to you than the X factor of where you're going to land on grid?
I actually prefer to keep it the way it is at the moment, just because it just adds variety to it more than anything.
I mean, what we've just learned is that nobody on Cap's team has done the math.
Right up here.
So, MMR systems, they are being used now. Soth's been setting it up for the Anger Games, and he made an open MMR system. My only feelings towards it at the moment is, it's relatively fine, I think, for community tournaments rather than specifically for the Alliance tournament, because there's still ways that you can kind of game it a little bit, in the sense you could completely make a new team of, we'll know that they're alts of other people, but at the same time, we don't want to have to reveal that. So I just sooner remove that entirely and just kind of keep it as is. Like, that's not to say that we have to keep that same system. I've tried to just ultimately random is always just been the fairest, because it's the only mechanic that we can use that is just going to be equal
That you guys won't fuck
equal
up
for everyone
basically.
else. Yeah.
For us all.
Well, because what you would have to do for it to be fair, because you can't even just do team captains. Because if you do team captains, all you have to do is swap out your captain for somebody with a lower MMR, and then suddenly you're in a weaker bracket, or in a better situation for you. You'd have to do like the average elo of every person on the team, and then average that out. And it gets complicated quickly. So it does create situations where it feels unfair. And I agree, it was maybe not the most ideal scenario, but that's the ball game. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I mean, this goes all the way up to like all professional levels of sports do this as well. The World Cup does a random draw, and you can end up with a group where you've got like Germany, Spain, France, and then some poor random country that just gets annihilated.
World Cup, that's soccer, right?
Jesus Christ.
Oh, yes, okay. Yeah. The one where people like lay down on the ground. That one. Next question. Over here.
All right, well, Mary doesn't want to say it, but I will. So, over the years, ships in general, their points have been getting higher and higher over the years. Take the Lesher, it's been nerfed 3 times, and it's the most expensive ship on the tournament. When are we going to get some serious ship balance? Because right now it's been like, oh, Leshak plus 2 points. Armageddon Navy for some reason plus 1 point. Apocalypse Navy plus 2. It's just weird discrepancies. Nurgle and Damavik are the same amount of points.
So I've been trying to make a little bit of an effort. The last tournament, I think, was the tournament that had the most uniquely pointed ships that we've ever had in the tournament. And this next tournament is probably going to increase on that again. I want to get to a position where every ship has a unique point value. And I think when I get it to that point, then you're going to probably see a lot more understandable point differences between them, because some of them there's still this class of ship or this type of ship is X point value. That being said, it always is dependent on like how often a particular ship is bought or how strong it is in the arena, because it's not just a case of is it strong on TQ, because obviously if it's a ship that you're bringing to the arena, it's going to have additional utility to it, or it's being bought, or a particular comp is being built around it. But that being said, I have recognized the fact that that point value has slowly been creeping up year on year. This year, spoilers, probably going to be reducing everything down a little bit more just to give a little bit more flexibility to comps as well. I'm still going to keep that 200 point cap now, but it's going to be, let's just say, a little more of the ships are going to be more economical to bring. Yeah.
Lesh plus 2.
I mean, you gotta have one. Next, over there. Oh boy!
I would love
Oh.
it. Yeah, I would love to see it. I mean, it has to be some sort of. We'd have to work out some sort of special rule around it. But I think it would be really, really funny if someone managed to jump like the flagship out the arena. I mean, we've seen kind of similar-ish stuff before. Like BRJ was telling me one time back in the Kick days, they 3D-crafted this setup where even if the guy was in at 50 with an MJD, they could bump him at the start and ping him out the arena, and they managed to make it work in a match, which was pretty fun. Also, I remember commentating another match where they all anchored, and the anchor flew out of the arena, and they all boundaried.
Incredible. We actually did it during one of the Anger Games as like a, I think was it 2 years? Yeah,
It was
2.
sick.
There you go. The funny thing is that we didn't actually realize at the time if all the commentators that are cloaked sitting in the middle of the arena, they get moved along with everybody else. So it's fun when you go back to your camera. It's like they're in the middle of the arena. No, they're not. They're gone.
And what about if we made the bush move the arena center?
Oh my God!
And the and the jump units along with them. Yeah.
No, leave them where they are. Now it's just chaos.
Let's go. Let's go over here next, right there in you. Yeah.
It's just the Widow.
It is just the widow.
Just the widow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it's also very hard to commentate when it's just a widow jamming everyone on both sides, and you're like, all right, let's just watch some dots fly around the screen for 10 minutes and chat about it. Hey,
We
if
want
you
that
guys want to
anyway.
stream your comms to us, we will absolutely put that on stream.
I mean, you guys complained. You guys complained when we wanted to do interviews after the matches. And now you're talking about comms. I mean, my God, We haven't even scratched the surface.
I mean, if I can find, I'm not going to say no, but I'm also not going to say yes. It's going to be some of the best matches I've watched. Controversial opinion here. Were those ECM control matches where 8 minutes of nothing has happened because they're waiting for the jams, and then suddenly one team has to make that decision of, okay, we're going in. And usually it's the choice that when you made that decision, they're the team that loses. So, yeah, exactly. So it is very gripping when that happens in that last 2 minutes that you want to go for it. But it's, as Overload says, it's the 8 minutes before it that's just not the greatest experience in the world.
Very, very back up there.
So the question is banning the most common flagships in the year before. So this is sort of a philosophical thing, but I think if something is popular and good, making the tournament better and giving out better alternatives rather than just banning the best thing is the better way to do it. Like we can do that and just keep banning out all the things everyone likes until everyone's flying around in just junk. But then that's less fun for people. Like you want to fly the good things, you pick them for a reason. So
Yeah, I mean, it's just like anything else, right? If you have something that is blatantly overpowered in the format, you adjust for it by just making it slightly more expensive, or to a certain extent, to be very clear, to a certain extent. But yeah, outright banning things, I think Ithaca or
once more.
I was very
There
close.
you go.
I was very
There you
close.
go.
I think my colleague CCP Overload is right. It just you don't want to make the product worse by trying to make it better, right?
Exactly.
So, second row over here.
Oh God. So,
Yeah,
stay
what
tuned, I
about it,
guess.
tools guys?
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
So there's a couple of little bits that I did want to say. Apologies at the very beginning here. There are going to be a few changes coming up with regards to the tournament tooling specifically. At the moment, if you've organized a match or participated in a tournament, we've only kind of really been able to run one tournament at a time. We're actually going to be changing it a little bit so we can do a little bit more flexibility with regards to that. So we can, for example, during the Anger Games, if I get approached by a guy who wants to run a 2v2 tournament the same weekend, I have the flexibility now to do that in the sense that I can import the points and the rule sets for that specific tournament and then switch it over the next day. So there's going to be a little bit more flexibility with regards to being able to run additional tournaments. But part of the bigger picture of that is, again, when it comes to broadcasts for tournaments, we always playing the battle between the players that are watching are ones that are interested in the tactical element and the point of view of every match. So as you say, they're more interested in where people are in the arena, whereas your average new viewer who's coming along who wanted to see what EVE Online competitive play looks like doesn't understand what the squares are moving from one screen to moving across the screen. So they're more interested in like the cinematic points of view, the close-ups, the explosions element. Recognize that, and it's also a case of what we're trying to do now is one of the things we'd like to be doing is being able to essentially bring back the old replay system that we had in what we had with Crest, because the idea being is if anyone can watch any match and go and replay it, you don't have to worry about having to cover those tactical points of view in the broadcasts. So, yes, it is on the mind. It is, I won't say planned. It is at the moment written down and
Concept of a plan.
And
Yes,
it would
exactly.
it's good for us too. I mean, obviously the flexibility for you guys to be able to look at your matches or your practice scrims in a more in-depth way is super useful. But the fact that we would be able to use that same tech and then do like replays of things from the last match without having to rely on just whatever shots we were able to get during the match is really, really powerful. And we've talked a lot about it in the past about how, the broadcast itself has developed so much over the years. We're getting to the point now where we really are running up against the limitations of the tools themselves. And so being able to push this thing, if we want to continue to do this for the next 10 years, into the future past that, that tooling it would be a huge boon, not just for you guys, but for us as well.
I mean, CCP Convict got, I think, 15 extra spots on the AT trophy. Is that right? So it goes up to 30? Goes up to 40.
We've got the backs, too.
Yeah,
though.
so
I
we've
mean,
got another 20 years to go before you
Yeah.
guys get to go out and touch grass. Yes.
Are we getting area of effect displays on Fancy UI anytime soon?
I mean, so the TLDR by the tournament tool is it was bodged together in I think 2011 by CCP Veritas, and he dusted his hands, looked over his work, was proud, and then no one touched it again for the next 2 decades.
My job is done.
CCP Logiro came in and revived a bunch of stuff with it, but it has just kind of been ticking along doing the thing, and it gets to the point where you can't update it. You really have to just rebuild it. And this is what CCP Zealous was kind of talking about as well. We've done a lot of work already at this point to try and spec out what an ideal tournament tool would look like. That is not just this jank POS that we have to use right now. It is getting a lot better, and the guys, even this year, they had done a bunch of real big stability improvements just for what we were doing.
Yeah, that Fancy UI in terms of what it actually shows, it's actually keyed off of visual effects. So like when you get webbed, the visual effect that appears around your ship, that's what Fancy UI picks up and shows. Sorry, but the wobble. But does it have a graphical effect on the ship that's different from a web?
Is not, no.
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 So, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's do Dujek.
Has there been any thought to changing the granularity of E-War? There are many camps in terms of we should have E-War on every ship or only a bonus, and whether or not we have scripts. Could we have scripts only for bonus, for instance? Is that a thing?
Maybe.
Yeah, the problem is you could enforce it in the sense that we tried this. Obviously, you saw it with what they called the warp fields, the Hick bubble effect. We used to have the rule that required you to have scripts in it, but there's nothing to stop you taking the script out in the middle of the match. So it's not really a super enforceable one in that sense. I don't want to start locking modules or playing around with modules on ships in that way. But that's kind of why at the moment it's kind of locked to specific hulls, because I think that was the easiest approach of doing that, and the way that it was clearest and made the most sense.
Yeah.
Yep.
I want to know.
Heads up, you might need to talk to an engineer in the next few months.
I want to know when I can drop a depot in the middle of a match and swap my entire fit out.
No.
Oh, okay, cool. Let's do up there, back corner.
Is there any plans for increasing analyst and commentator incentives and presence in the AT?
What do you mean increasing incentives? You
What's
mean
more shit?
I mean, you get a sense of pride and accomplishment. Isn't that enough? So yeah, I mean, I would love to personally. I've been pushing for this for some years. That I think the people who sacrifice their ability to be in a team and come to be, because we want the best commentators and analysts, and the best commentators and analysts tend to be the people in successful teams, and they want to go win all those prize ships and be space famous. Being able to reward them in some way is something I would like to do, even if it's just maybe we can give some extra ships out. I also wanted at one point maybe to give out extra ship to Twitch chats. Those guys are always right, and they asked for that one time. So
If it makes you feel any better, when CCP Zealous was handing out the prize, well, the not prize money, the payment money in Plex for the casters last year, I waited with bated breath for my own payment to come through, and then found out that I will not get paid. So it could be
CCP
worse.
Yeah, CCP Life.
Oh, I see.
No, I mean it's not really advertised, but as Jolton says, we do normally do a little bit of Plex and Omega time as well for everybody. I'm less inclined to want to give away ships, more specifically because I don't want someone to go, I'm a commentator, I've instantly won a ship. Whereas everyone else has gone through like weeks and months of practice and training to earn that ship. So that's the primary reason they don't end up getting ships. One of the things I did do this year for the last tournament, I should say, I actually gave the skins specifically, but I direct injected into the commentators so they couldn't trade them. So it wasn't like an added value that they could go and trade on the open market. It was there as a thank you very much. Here you go. You can use them if you happen to ever fly one of the Concorde ships.
Yeah, it's a PvP tournament, not a yapping tournament.
I see
Unfortunately.
Mystical Might
So I'll
his
never
hand
win.
up politely for like 10 minutes, so Mystical Might.
Let's do. Oh,
No, we're gonna miss the easy. His hand up for 10 minutes.
oh. Say again.
So when you say underperform, you mean it got absolutely obliterated every time it bought a match? I mean, I guess if you can't get close to your enemy, yeah, it
And
definitely
it is the
underperforming.
ship that just like has written "shoot me first on the side."
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I've openly said this on Discord that yes, I'd absolutely love to be able to bring the Cenotaph and the Tholos to the Alliance tournament. There's additional caveats around it. So, for example, at the moment, the Breacher Pod doesn't appear on Fancy UI, and that's a simple one that I'd like to get added. Actually, what the bigger problem is, anyone that's participated in matches will have experienced this, that when the timer goes to 0, that's usually about a 5 to 10 second delay between when that timer goes to 0 and you're removed from system. The real problem is with those Breacher Pods is they'll continue to do damage after that timer goes to 0. So if like on the Alliance tournament, that's on a flagship, and the flagship pops after the timer goes to 0, it's causing all sorts of problems.
Yep.
So
We have had instances in the past where we have had to very quickly move ships out of the arena because they are about to get cooked, and the timer is ticking down to nothing. It's
yeah. So what I'm trying to do is I want to get that element solved by either just like making it so when the timer goes to 0, everybody gets their health restored, or something along those lines, so that there's no risk of like someone dying after the clock's finished or the match is finished. Because obviously there's additional issues when it comes to the reimbursement. If it's in that 10-second window, it explodes, someone goes and loots it, it's then the loot that they've got is like they shouldn't have got it, and then you have to reimburse the ship, and then it's the additional intel. There's lots of kind of added problems associated with it. So as long as I can get that solved before the AT, yes.
yeah. Let's do Brown Jacket again, right here. It's mood.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I mean, there are absolutely the people that just want TD forever, and that's absolutely fine. Yes, I have actually considered it. It was something that I'm thinking about for this year, is just compressing it down a little bit. The general cadence for the last 2 tournaments in terms of like when like information was released versus and then the time period before the feeders and then the time period before the AT didn't actually change a huge amount last year. I think the only thing that actually changed was the announcement date, just because the expansion was announced when I was originally planning it. But I think what I'll probably do is the announcement post will probably go out roughly the same time, but when the actual events are happening in terms of like when the rule drop happens, and so on and so forth, will probably be, as I say, compressed down a little bit. As I say, I think it landed in a really good spot last year in terms of the Crimson Harvest happening at the same time, because it meant a bunch of flagships had extra loot that got dropped, which spiced up a few of the flagships on the other teams, which I think felt pretty great.
Anyway,
I mean,
make it standard. It's so much fun.
but yeah, I would like to compress it down a little bit. Yes.
We'd love to, for
We
sure.
would love
like,
that,
yeah.
actually.
So spokespeople was a controversial topic. I was all for it because, especially when people, players, casters, analysts, us, people want to make the Alliance tournament better and like more professional. Every year we want to keep doing ourselves and make it more fun and engaging for everyone. And if you look at any other like high-level esports things, most of them have contracts where they say, "Hey, you are obligated to do a certain amount of media appearances because people want to know the faces behind the team, the alliances behind the name. Like, who are you?" Especially us casters on desk, we want to be able to talk about these groups. So having those little videos from you guys this year, I really liked it. Some people put a lot of effort into it,
Yeah.
and
Some didn't.
some didn't. I would like to expand that to CCP Zealous. I think we should make every single member of every single team submit a 10-minute video about
Oh,
themselves.
10 minutes a bit much.
There's a lot of stairs
And
between us and the
CCP
door,
Zealous
friend.
can
Yeah.
check all of them by hand.
Oh, thank you. I mean, it was super nice to be able to go, hey, look, this team is playing next. Let's have a conversation, or let's see the submission from that spokesperson. I think they were fantastic. The teams that really did put that extra effort in, they got some really like high quality spokesperson videos for it. I'd like to, yes, I'd very much like to kind of enhance the whole spokesperson experience more because, like, ideally, the reason I want to do this is giving teams more like faces. So like recognizing that these are who they are on TQ, why you should be feared, why you should be cheered on, like why people should care. That's ideally what I want it to be. And I need to find a way that is both happy for the teams that want to keep like that anonymous, but also a case of I want to give people a reason to cheer for you.
Yeah, and the reason that we want to make sure that if there's a spokesperson for an alliance, they're not also a member of the flying team, is because if you say, okay, we want you to come on to a live interview, they're like, oh no, I can't have a match in like an hour, I need to get prepared for it, etc., etc. It's going to be difficult, and people are always going to decline it, especially like the higher end teams. So we want to make sure that you're not having to like basically let your team down to come make our show better. So it's another one of our famous balancing acts.
This is, and it's important too, not just for, I mean, us, obviously, it gives us more to talk about, but the Alliance Tournament has traditionally been a very hard thing to sell to a wider audience outside of just EVE people, because the Alliance Tournament, in EVE, anybody knows this, with very few exceptions, EVE PvP is kind of hard to watch as a spectator, right? If you understand what's happening and you understand the flow of things and you can kind of expect where things should be and you look and see, oh, I know what that ship does, I know how this works, I can kind of expect the outcome. But for the layman or just somebody who has never watched the AT before or somebody who's maybe new to EVE in general and just getting into it, watching PvP even with the casters there is kind of a little bit rough, at least at first. So having an additional face of the teams themselves, so they're not just dots on a screen moving around. You know that, oh, okay, that guy, I just heard from him. That's that person in the arena right now. There's that connection that's created between the viewer and the subject on the screen that is so much more important than just like, oh yeah, this is the team from the Deepwater Boo Hooligans, and they've got hey, calm down.
Boo
And
Hooligans.
they've got, here's a list of names of people you'll never hear from again, and then they're off, and then we go to the next team.
So I always make a point of when we're watching matches, and if we see like a particular active great pilotry or someone like putting the team on their back and carrying them through, when we're running back to the desk, I usually like write down their name, make sure highlight this person. Like it's a game of it's a team game, but it's a team made up of individual pilots, and you can't do it without the other 9 people by your side essentially. And having, I talk about this all the time, a great Logi pilot is so valuable in the Alliance tournament. Planet 6, Reload over there, one of the best ones in the game. Like, having him on your team means that you just...
Might even say that you need a real Logi bro.
Yeah. It's super valuable, and that is worth... Like, I would rather take a really good Logi pilot over, like, 4, like, normal people just in the match. It's critical. So be able to call them out and, like, highlight their skill is such a good thing to have. And in terms of these spokespeople things, I think this is just part of it, like putting face to names. And shout out Jin Tan, who did some of these interviews with captains in, I think, Alliance Tournament 18. Although it was a bit weird that every single time we played one, the team immediately lost. Apart from one's call.
Absolutely
he was
cursed.
almost in tears at one point.
We got time for probably 2 more quick ones, so we're going to do back row first, and then we'll do over here. we talked about that at the beginning. I think the answer was no. You're fine. You're fine.
Answer was pretty much yes. We want to do that.
Yes, we
But-
want to. Slightly longer answer. It's complicated. Yeah. No, you're good. Yes. Like category prizes.
Yeah, have
be kinda
tried
cool.
tried to think of some ways to do this. It's just it's horrendously complicated. And a lot of these things were like, yes, definitely, and then it gets to the point of like putting the thing together in the tournament itself, and it's a ton of work and a ton of like when we get to the tournament, there is so much going on that trying to also spend some time to like, okay, now who wins this? You almost need to like have extra people to do it. So I'd love to do it. Yes, these are all things that like we'd love to do and really keep shouting at individual people. But how do we do it basically?
Also, how do you tell an assist?
Yeah.
Yeah, because Eve players never
That's
like
actually-
all
yeah.
log in their alts and
Not
upvote
gameable
things. Yeah.
at all.
I'm. But, I mean, yeah.
There's always ways to do this.
Yeah. I mean, normally during the final
Switch
wrap up blog that I normally put out, I normally give a little bit of a shout out to any particular, like I think I did the highest flagship loss value, the most amount of any particular ship that was bought. I did, I think, the furthest boundary violation one year as well. There's a whole bunch of little stats that we can do, but it's finding what feels like an adequate reward for each one.
So right here, second row.
I realize this verges a little away from tournaments, but has there been thought to bring in, when the Abyssal Arena existed, there was talks about you could potentially get the agent through that. Has there been anything else, more ways to get into the OT through doing something in-game, doing some event, something like that?
I don't want to speak for you guys, but I feel like there's a certain purity to the way into the AT is through a tournament format, right? So the people who get auto bids got in because of a success in a tournament format, and the same thing is true for anybody who gets in through the feeder system, right? Regardless of how the feeders play out or how they're structured, it's still a tournament. It's not something that it's an instance thing in a totally different context with different rules. I don't know. You might speak more to that.
Oh, I think you nailed it.
Hell yeah, I nailed it.
You don't get into the World Cup, which is the soccer one. You don't get into that by being good at ping pong.
Footy.
Hopscotch.
Yeah. Let's do back there in green. I try not to.
You'll see that the sidewind is very popular, almost 1,400 kills. Python's doing great, almost 900 kills, and the Cobra has less than 300. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah. I mean, it's just the curse of the enforcer, right? The enforcer kind of sucks.
I mean, yeah, it's just literally a case of different reasons to bring different ships. They're all balanced very differently, quite deliberately, and it's not. It's going to be a case of there's not going to be an encounter always for every scenario, right? The steal a ship, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think yes. The Sidewinder has like obvious utility for what it does, and the Python is a huge meme boat that people drop with all kinds of on all sorts of stuff, and the Cobra's kind of in a weird middle spot. The same reason the Enforcer's in a weird middle spot. Like the Marshal gets used a ton, the Pacifier gets used a ton, and the Enforcer's like the weird middle stepchild. So. Let's do. I don't mean to say that stepchildren are weird. To be very clear, I mixed my metaphors. Back row, we've got probably time for one more. Go ahead.
Last one. It's also kind of funny though.
It is incredible.
It's funny. Listen, the reason that came about was because the meme was that everybody who flies, like you have a bunch of people who fly Marshals who don't get any of the benefits of flying the Marshal because they have absolutely shit sex status. So like, oh, okay, well we can make a Marshal, but it's like the anti-Marshal.
Yeah.
And it was fun, and we probably won't do it
It's
again.
a pretty unique thing to Edencom and Concord and all that stuff anyway.
Yeah.
So it's
It was literally just because of the base ships. It was a case of like, we're not going to make it positive status because who's going to use these things in a positive scenario? So And it's something that we've always wanted to do for a long time, is make negative sex status ships. So like it was a great opportunity to do it. So we went ahead and did it.
Specifically wanted them to be named after outlaw terms. Like I wanted the Python to be called the Desperado because I thought it'd be sick as hell. But it, Gurisa's won out in the end.
We don't know yet.
Oh, classified. All right, that's our
You'll
time.
find out soon.
Our time
Is that
literally just
zero?
ran out, so thank you very much,
Guys,
everyone.